Dear viewers, in the view of upcoming Civil Services Preliminary Examination, PT 2021 revision series has been started to make your preparation better. The program will be published at 9 am daily. Hope this initiative of ours will be beneficial for you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK, and in this segment we bring to you objective questions on a daily basis to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the practice question of the last segment. With reference to Quad grouping, consider the following statements. Quad comprises all democratic countries surrounding China. Vaccine diplomacy, climate change, technological innovation are some of the objectives of Quad. Quad is based on the principle of collective defense. We have to select the correct statement. Quad is a grouping of Japan, India, US and Australia, and not all democratic countries surrounding China, so the first statement is incorrect. But yes, it has vaccine diplomacy, climate change, technological innovation, some of its objective, besides having a free and open Indo-Pacific. Quad is based on the principle of collective defense. This is not correct. So the correct answer to this question is option B. Recently, the US announced that the first in-person meeting of the Quad countries is going to be held in New York, US. As of now, we have talked about that the Quad members are restricted to the 4 countries I mentioned above. According to the spirit of the Quad, the group's primary objectives include maritime security, combating the COVID-19 crisis, addressing the risks of climate change, creating an ecosystem for investment in the region, and boosting technological innovation. The Quad does not include provisions for collective defense, instead choosing to conduct joint military exercises as a show of unity and diplomatic cohesion. Moving on, consider the following statements. Right to privacy includes the right to be forgotten and the right to be left alone. Right to be forgotten falls under the purview of an individual's right to privacy, which is governed by the Personal Data Protection Bill that is yet to be passed in the Parliament. So we have to select the correct statement. Now, both these statements are actually correct. The correct answer to this question is option C, both 1 and 2. Last week, the Delhi High Court upheld the view that the right to privacy includes the right to be forgotten and the right to be left alone. The right to be forgotten falls under the purview of an individual's right to privacy, which is governed by the Personal Data Protection Bill that is yet to be passed by the Parliament. In 2017, the right to privacy was declared a fundamental right by the Supreme Court in its landmark verdict of Justice K.S. Puttaswamy. Now, which of the following are eligible criteria for WHO emergency use listing procedure? Existing products have not been successful in eradicating the disease or preventing outbreaks. The product is manufactured in compliance with current good manufacturing practices in the case of medicines and vaccines, and under a functional quality management system in the case of IVDs. So we have to select the correct statement. Both these statements are correct. The correct answer to this question is option C, both 1 and 2. The World Heritage Organization may take a decision on granting emergency use listing to Bharat Biotech's Covaxin this week. Now, WHO's emergency use list is a risk-based procedure for assessing and listing unlicensed vaccines, therapeutics, and in vitro diagnostics. To be eligible, the following criteria must be there. Existing products have not been successful in eradicating the disease or preventing outbreaks, and the product is manufactured in compliance with current good manufacturing practices in the case of medicines and vaccines, and under a functional quality management system in case of IVDs. Moving on, consider the following statements regarding Gaganyaan mission. The objective of the program is to demonstrate the capability to send humans to low Earth orbit on board by Indian launch vehicle and also bring them back to Earth safely. 4 Indian astronaut candidates have already undergone generic space flight training in America as a part of the Gaganyaan program, and ISRO's heavy lift launcher GSLV Mark III has been identified for the mission. So we have to select the correct statement. Now, the second is incorrect because that training has happened in Russia, not America. First and third are correct. The correct answer to this question is option C. Australia will support India's Gaganyaan mission by tracking it through Cocos Keeling Island And the objective of Gaganyaan program is to demonstrate the capability of India to send humans to low Earth orbit on board on an Indian launch vehicle and bring them back to Earth safely. Moving on. The exercise Peaceful Mission is recently seen in the news is conducted between which of the following? It is conducted between option D, that is SCO, member states. The 6th edition of Exercise Peaceful Mission is being hosted by Russia from 13 to 25th September 21. Joint Counter-Terrorism Peaceful Exercise Peaceful Mission is a multilateral exercise which is conducted biennially as a part of the military diplomacy between Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states. The aim of the exercise is to foster close relations between SCO member states and to enhance abilities of the military leaders to command multinational military contingents. Moving on, consider the following statements regarding IBC, that is insolvency resolution process basically. The IBC can be triggered if there is minimum default of rupees 10 lakh. The process can be initiated by two classes of creditors, which would include financial creditors and operational creditors. We have to select the correct statement. Now, the IBC can be triggered if there is a minimum default of rupees 1 crore. And the second is correct. The correct answer to this question is option B. Recently, the Supreme Court held that the Committee of Creditors approved resolution plan under the IBC submitted to National Company Law Tribunal cannot be modified. IRP, that is insolvency resolution process in India, the IBC can be triggered if there is a minimum default of rupees 1 crore, and this process can be triggered by way of filing an application before the NCLT. The process can be initiated by two classes of creditors, which would include financial creditors and operational creditors. Consider the following statements with respect to GST Council. It is considered as a federal body where both the center and the states get due representation. It's a statutory body and it is chaired by the Prime Minister. We have to select the correct statement. It is not chaired by the Prime Minister but the Union Finance Minister, so the third statement is incorrect. And also it is a constitutional body under Article 279A. So second and third are incorrect, but the first is correct. So the correct answer to this question is option A, that is one only. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will chair the 45th meeting of the GST at 11 a.m. in Lucknow. So it has already been held. And this is the maiden physical meet of the GST Council since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. We have discussed about the constitutionality of Council, and every decision of the GST shall be, the council itself shall be taken at a meeting by a majority of not less than 3/4 of the weighted votes of the members present and voting. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to bad banks. The first bad bank was created in 1988 and the bad bank is not involved in lending but only deposits. So we have to select the correct statement. Now, bad banks are not involved in either lending or deposits. Second is incorrect. First is definitely correct. The correct answer is option A, that is one only. Following through with one of her key announcements in the budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced that the formation of India's first ever bad bank will take place, which is an asset reconstruction company or an asset management company that takes over the bad loans of commercial banks, manages them and finally recovers the money over a period of time. The bad bank is not involved in lending and taking deposits but helps commercial banks to clean up their balance sheet and resolve bad loans. US-based Mellon Bank created the first bank in 1988, after which the concept has been implemented in other countries including Sweden, Finland, France and Germany. Moving on, AUKUS is a security pact among which of the following countries? AUKUS is a security pact with respect to the marine security between US, UK and Australia. So the correct answer is option D. The United States, United Kingdom and Australia announced new defense deal on September 16th, under which America and Britain will help Australia to deploy nuclear-powered submarines in the Pacific. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to Mudra Yojana. The Mudra loans are given by the commercial banks and RRBs only, and the scheme was launched in 2018, so we have to select the incorrect statement. The scheme was launched in 2015 actually, and the Mudra loans are given by commercial banks, RRBs, small finance banks, NBFCs. Both are incorrect. The correct answer is option C. Union Minister of State for Finance said that a decision will be taken to make Mudra loans more hassle-free and available to those who wanted to start a business. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana is a scheme launched on April 8, 2015 and for providing loans up to rupees 10 lakh to the non-corporate, non-farm, small micro enterprises it has come into being. These loans are given by commercial banks, RRBs, small finance banks, and also MFIs, that is microfinance institutions, and NBFCs. Consider the following statements with respect to the production-linked incentive scheme. The scheme aims to give companies incentives on incremental sales from products manufactured in domestic units. Textile sector is not a part of the scheme. It also aims to encourage local companies to set up or expand existing manufacturing units. We have to select the correct statement. So first and third are definitely correct. Second is not, because textile was recently taken as a part of the scheme. The correct answer to this question is option C. The government's production-linked incentive scheme for the automobile industry would speed up electric vehicle adoption, but beyond that, India's vehicle manufacturers would benefit only in long run. The PLI scheme that aims to give companies incentives on incremental sales from products manufactured in domestic units. Also, apart from inviting foreign companies to set shops in India, the scheme also aims to encourage local companies to set up or expand existing manufacturing units. Recently, the Union Cabinet has approved the PLI scheme for the textile sector. Moving on, let's look at the practice question for the next segment. The groundswell report recently seen in the news is released by which of the following organizations? World Bank, World Economic Forum, World Meteorological Organization, or Ministry of Earth Sciences. So I hope you'll be answering it correctly in the comment segment. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated, and thank you so much for watching.